back to another Prairie Sunset Ranch farm vlog. I am Aaron, and thank you for tuning in. Well, if you find Prairie Sunset Ranch farm videos informative, entertaining, or just plain fun, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that little chime bell so you don't miss any of our new videos coming out. If you don't like our videos, still do it. Still hit the subscribe and the notification bell. Well, if you have ever thought to yourself about getting into cattle farming or cattle ranching, this is the beef cattle video for you. We are going to touch on 10 key points when getting started into our industry. So let's jump into it. Tip number 1, your land base and your pasture land. What kind of pasture are you going to use? What kind of land base are you going to have? So you're looking out here, lots of pasture. There's some land right there. We got pasture. On the other side, we got pasture. We have actually 3 different pastures for 3 different groups of animals. So we have it split up accordingly. How many acres do you have to play with? How many acres do you actually have access to? Out here, what is our stocking rate? Well, we typically say out here, and I'm taking the good years and the bad years. Right now, the last few years hasn't been that great, but we're running approximately 1 cow per 5 acres. Bear that in mind. It's going to be different for everyone. That's not in stone for everyone. It's going to be different in different areas that you live in and different areas that you have cattle. Also, it depends on the size of your cattle. How big are these cattle that you are going to be raising? What breed? And I'm going to get into that in another video. Anyways, what kind of land do you have to work with? What kind of pasture are you going to have? How long do they have to stay on that pasture? Depends a lot on your weather and your climate. What area are you in? Out here, we have to feed approximately 7 months of the year. It gets very cold here, so bear that in mind when you're getting into cattle. Tip number 2, fencing. Very important when you're getting into beef cattle. Fencing is very important. It keeps your animals in, keeps your animals safe. It keeps the neighborhood not mad at you because your cattle aren't all over their fields or on the road. Now, if you're going to be doing cattle, you got to go with barbed wire. You got to go with a 4 or 5 strand barbed wire. And it never hurts to have a hot top wire. I'm telling you this through experience. For us, look at this. Field fence. It's bent down. We came back to the ranch and I put up field fence for sheep. Now, I ran my cattle in there for 2 years and they destroyed it. So do not put the money out for field fence unless you have sheep or goats or an animal you want to keep in, then you have to run it. If you're going to run field fence with cattle, make sure you have 1 or 2 top wires of really heavy duty barbed wire or a nice hot wire on top. I am telling you, through experience, the cows will destroy your field fence. So there you can save a few bucks and save a lot of headaches. Go with a heavy gauge barbed wire. Tip number 3 is housing. Shelter for your animals, your cattle. What kind of shelters are you going to have in place for your animals? We have an old dairy operation, but we have some pole barns constructed as well. We have access to this pole barn for calving with heat lamps down the middle, which I close up on the really cold nights. Because we do get such freezing cold winters, we efficiently use the old dairy barn. We as well have an old pole barn there that's closed off from the north end, and we have a 3rd shelter there. Housing is very important. You definitely don't want to overcrowd. That's a big point that goes in with housing. Please don't overcrowd. You are looking for problems. But we keep our calves outside. Only time we open up a barn to the calves, and I'm talking calves, older calves, the small calves always have access to shelter and they go in them in the spring. You can bet your behind they do. But We want to keep the animals out of those cold rains, so those spring and fall rains, because that's where you get illnesses coming up, shooting up in your herd. You don't want that. You got to keep them out of that cold rain. Oh, another important point is to keep them out of the wind. Those cold winds, you got to have breaks. This provides lots of shelter for them. Out in the pasture, we have wind blocks set up, double stacked bales. They provide great wind block. So housing goes hand in hand with wind blocks, and keeping the animals out of the elements. You got to give them shade in the hot months of summer, and keep them out of those cold rains and winds. So very important point. Tip number 4, one of your most important tips or points I can give you. Listen up, people, this is a biggie. Genetics. You gotta start, if you're starting from scratch, you want to make sure you're getting the best genetics. You're looking for tame animals that can be handled, touched, or dealt with if you ever have to. You're looking for good hoofs, good udders, and basically just desirable characteristics of an animal. Now, I highly suggest, if you're going to buy from auction, take someone who's experienced with cattle so they can spot. A good cattle guy, a seasoned veteran, can spot issues with a cow from a mile away. I kid you not. If you're new to it, take someone that's experienced. If you don't have access to anyone, just say you don't know anyone that's in ranching or cattle farming already, go straight to the breeder's or the producer's place. Take a look around their farm. Does the general health of the animal look good? Does it kind of look like the kind of operation you're going to be running? Look to see if those animals, if you could see those animals on your operation thriving. So make sure that the health of the herd and the genetics they're coming from are good. With good genetics, you will do good. You will succeed. I'll tell you that much. But it is so very important to know where your animals come from, what kind of genetics you're getting into, because without genetics, it can be a nightmare. We work hard with ours. Our genetics come, we're the 4th generation farmers here, and our genetics have been carried over. We've never bought a cow from another farm ourselves personally. We only bring in bulls, very selective few bulls. So do bear this in mind. It is huge, sometimes overlooked. Don't go necessarily for the best bargain. Go for the best genetics. It's a fail-safe plan, people. Tip number 5. Here's one surprisingly somewhat overlooked tip or point to think about when getting into beef cattle farming. The hay. All this hay that these girls chew on all day. Where is that hay going to come from? Do you have a good hay market in your area? Is it affordable to buy hay? Or do you have the land base that you can make your own hay efficiently? But there's equipment costs with that. There's repair costs. There's other costs associated with it. Making hay is fairly expensive. We'll be touching base on this point in further detail down the road. I have videos coming up explaining hay production. If you're in an area where there's a shortage of hay and you do have some land base, you might want to consider making your own hay. You know it's good. You know what to look for. You know, nice, clean, dust-free hay. However, some places it's affordable. There's an abundance of hay. Then I would say you should definitely think about perhaps buying hay. At the end of the day, you might be better off. So that's something to think about as well. If you're thinking about hay in your operation, this can somewhat build a picture in your mind of what kind of hay, how much hay you're going to look at. For example, on our operation, we have approximately 100 medium framed cows. They're not the biggest girls. We don't want the biggest girls. We want efficient girls. We want good mothers, good genetics. So we do have, let's say, I think around 80 are cows, 20, maybe a little bit less are heifers. But In our part of the country, we have to feed up for approximately 7 months. So 7 months is approximately 210 days. So 210 days of the year, we're gonna be feeding hay. So it's a big, we really gotta think about this in advance because it can add up. It gets expensive. But let's just say the cows eat approximately 40 pounds of hay a day in the winter. And this goes up or down depending on the weather. The heifers, they're gonna consume approximately 30 pounds a day. This can go up and down as well. So cows are gonna be consuming approximately 604,800 pounds of hay in a winter. And our heifers are gonna consume 144,900 pounds of hay. This brings the grand total to be 749,700 pounds of hay forage. This is a big number. So whether you're feeding up round bales, medium squares, small squares, silage, whatever it be, that can put the numbers into a picture for you. That's quite a bit of hay. So do your math ahead of time is all I'm saying. And you'll be well off if you know exactly, realistically, how much hay you're gonna use. Tip number 6, fresh, accessible water. Make sure your animals have 24/7 access to clean water is the key, not stagnant water with algae sitting in it, because that can cause major issues, major health issues, concerns, etc. So for us, our land is in fairly low areas. Between all our 3 pasturing areas, we have swamps and springs that keep the water fresh year-round. We even go as far as to keeping our animals out a little bit past freeze up, as long as it's not too cold, and we go and cut holes in the brim of the swamp and spring areas, and the cows know to go to get fresh water when I cut the hole. And then when we bring them back, come fall, winter, this waterer serves to water 1, 2, 3, 4 different groups of animals. It's a big tire waterer, heavy duty construction. It is fantastic. As you can tell, she's really enjoying it. It's heated. I got a heating element in there, and the water is actually very mild. It's nice and warm. So clean water is a key to a successful cattle farm, right? That's right. So there you go. Make sure you price out waterers. If you're in a cold area like we are in the winter, we need heated waterers. You might be in an area where you don't need a waterer. If you're in a part of United States, or just say you're in Australia, and you don't have winter freeze-ups and horrible winters like we do, you might get away without having to put in a waterer. But keep it in mind, very important. Lucky tip number 7. Figure out your market. For when you're marketing calves, this is our calf lot. Are you going to be taking them to market or to an auction barn or an auction? How far is that auction? How much is transportation? How is the market? Is it flooded? Is there not too many cattle in your area, etc.? For myself, I've developed a grass-fed market, a farm gate to the consumer market. So we have a processor, a butcher, fully certified, that takes our younger steers, etc., and we sell them to the grass-fed market. There's a demand for it out here. So do some market research. See what is in demand in your area. Think outside the box. It's not always just to auction. You know, figure out, calculate how much a processor is, how much to butcher, and see if you have that market. If you don't, create a market for yourself. Create a grass-fed market, a healthy meat option for people that love red meat but are sick of buying from the stores. I'm telling you, this is a key point to success of a small cattle producer, especially these days when you're competing with factory farmed beef. The big guys have low costs. This is going to save you. This will make you a couple bucks, I'm telling you. Nice little tip 8. Budgeting your money. You gotta learn to budget your money appropriately, because you're only going to be getting 1, 2, maybe 3 paychecks a year if you're lucky. So you got to budget those dollars when they're put in your bank to last that whole year. What equipment are you going to need for your cattle farm? You're going to probably need something like this. A front end loader tractor is a must for a cattle farm. You don't need lots of tractors. You definitely need one good loader tractor. I suggest you buy a good, used, well-maintained machine opposed to going to the bank or go through financing and get that $250,000 tractor. That never goes well, typically. I like to keep my costs down and have more money in my bank at the end of the year so I can enjoy myself a little bit. I do use my ATV every day, all day almost. I have an old Kawasaki mule, which I love, and it does everything from oats, mineral, pasture checks, everything. It does everything. Do you need a side-by-side? No. You can get away with a big red with a nice little trailer to pull behind. Just anything that you can check pastures, etc. with. Even an old 4x4 Jeep or half ton, that's fine. So keep that in mind. Equipment costs. You do need certain equipment. So do a pre-budget, plan out exactly where you're going to be allocating your money. For example, diesel costs, repairs, unforeseen repairs, feed costs, etc. Build that into your budget profit plan and you'll be okay if you plan for it ahead of time. Tip 9 is a good one. Be ready to deal with unpleasant situations such as sick, ill, or dying livestock. If you have livestock, you will have some dead stock. I don't care who you are and how good of an operation you run. It is a true reality of farming and ranching. And when it happens, you have to be able to deal with it. It happens to the best of us. And I am telling you this truthfully. Don't be too hard on yourself when things don't go good, because you will have bad days and you will have bad weeks, but you also have very good weeks. Look to the future if you have those bad days, and things will work out. Just hold on and hang in there. I'm talking through experience, trust me. And numero 10, number 10, people, listen up. Are you and your family aware of the time you're going to be putting in? It is not a Monday to Friday job. You're going to be putting in some days that are long, some days not so long. But when you're starting up a cattle ranch or a cattle farm, you're going to be putting lots of time in. So be prepared to put the time in. However, when you balance your schedule better as you become more seasoned and more of a veteran in the field, you really learn how to feed your animals up and do daily activities that provides you with days off and time off for you to do things as a family. It is so important to get your family involved and make it a very positive experience for everyone. Create some family memories that you'll never forget. Make farming and cattle ranching should be pleasant, and it can be if you make it that way. But if you stay positive, you build a good schedule up and you figure out your herd and how to look after them in a efficient manner, you will have lots of downtime where you will be able to enjoy your family, enjoy the fruits of your labor. Trust me, this is true. It took me a while to figure this out, but it's fantastic. I would never ask for anything else my entire life. I went from a government job where I had my days off, but I'm telling you, if I would have known it was so pleasant cattle ranching, I would have been doing this a long time ago. Well, I hope this video was informative, entertaining to you. I really hope it helps some of you people out that are looking to get into cattle ranching or just curious as to how the process takes place or how one gets into it. But with that said, this is Aaron signing off. We will see you next week with an all-new Prairie Sunset Ranch farm vlog, and I will catch you then. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye for now.